we'd like to bring in the lovely Laura Sanko. Hello, Laura.
Hello, let's try this again.
We're good. That works.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm chilling the lovely Fairfield Inn in Las Vegas, Nevada. And yeah, just recovering from a very busy night last night.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you got off the AOL dial-up and now you joined us in the real world, broadband or whatever. But Laura, yes, you do have a busy night. There's pre-fight video content that you guys put up to introduce us to the fighters, and then of course you tell us who the fighter is that wins because you go in there and do the announcing duties, the MC duties. Then you rush back and you basically congratulate the fighter, make them give their pitch to Dana White. Then at the end of the night, you talk to Dana White about who's in and who's not. And then when that's all over, you then go back to the fighters and congratulate the ones that have been in. It is one busy night, but it's your baby, man. Dana White Contender Series is your baby.
It is. I'm glad you say that because I very much feel that way. I've been on every single episode, and I'll be damned if I miss one. You know, like I do feel like it's my baby. And last night was extra special because for the first time they kind of let me chirp in on some of the actual commentary during the fight. It wasn't a ton, but you know, I've been pushing to let them or to have them let me offer a little bit more analysis when it makes sense to. So I was excited that they let me kind of offer a few little nuggets here and there on the guys that I knew really well.
Well, on top of all that, one question I wanted to ask you right off the bat was, how do you deal with this emotionally? George and I have been, just because of the pandemic this year, we haven't been to one this year, but I think we've been to just about all of them before that. Even him and I get a little teary-eyed when they show some of these vignettes, and on top of that, you have a training partner that was competing. How do you keep it all together? Was yesterday a little different than maybe some of the others?
Yeah, two guys actually, two guys I know really well. Last night, Mike Breeden and Jeff Molina. And yeah, it does. It gets really emotional. But last night was special. You know, seeing those guys just because I see them every day. You know, I see the grind that they're putting in the gym, and while I may not be at every pro practice anymore, I'm there doing other stuff, and I see them every single day, and I see the blood, sweat, and tears, and all the stuff that happens behind the scenes. Like Mike had both of these guys. I can't really go into detail, but both of these guys had so much stuff stacked against them these last few weeks that I can't even begin to tell you. From family stuff, medical stuff, all sorts, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. So we were all super emotionally raw coming into the night anyway. And yeah, it's tough, but I get emotionally attached even to the people that I don't know personally, just through the hours of research I put in. And I get it. Like, I may not have had a long career, but I know what that grind is like a little bit. I know what it's like to cut weight, and I know what these dreams are like and what that moment means to that fighter. So yeah, that's why I cry almost every week.
Did you hear anything from as far as your role with chiming in a little bit on some of the fights? I saw on social media, people loved it. They really liked it. We really enjoyed hearing from you.
They did, yeah. I was super excited to see that because I'll be honest, like, you know, you guys know UFC fans are they're a tough crowd. They're a very, very tough crowd. So I was a little nervous when I pushed that Twitter icon on my phone to go look and see, but and overwhelmingly people loved it, and it made me feel good because if I'm being honest, like I always appreciate a kind compliment, and it's cool when people say, oh, you're pretty or whatever, but I would much rather hear someone say, I really appreciated your analysis on that, or what you said made a lot of sense or made me think about the fight differently. Or, I mean, that means 100 times more to me. So to have a lot of that last night was really cool because I think people liked it. Mark Ratner even got up, and I don't know if you've spent much time around him, but he's so not the typical UFC type, right? So he kind of comes back and he said, "Oh, Miss Laura, I really enjoyed your insights on that fight. That was a nice change of pace." I said, "Thank you, sir. Please tell your coworkers as well."
He's got a cool strut. It's similar to Masvidal when he's got his hands behind his back, but
Yes.
he's looking to throw a 3-piece in a soda. Mark Radner kind of has his hands behind his back, or sometimes too. But it's just a cool little strut. He kind of glides across the arena.
He's very.
I love that guy.
And he'll show up right next to you because he's so quiet and he's so just kind of under the radar as he moves around the arena. But I'm telling you, like, I have a suspicion that man is an absolute G deep down. I just have this feeling that, like, that guy's seen some real shit, and I wish I could pick his brain.
Have you been in his office before? Have you seen how legit, like, all the things he has on the wall?
Historical.
I've been up there in the executive offices. I don't know if I've specifically been in Mark's.
Ask him. It's so worth it. Like, block out about an hour of your time and just go through his wall and all the things that he has up there. It's amazing.
Tell him George Rose sent you, and he'll give you a tour. But it's first of all, the office is massive, and then it's just kind of like in 4 sectors: historical. Then he's got his working area,
That's cool.
where you can host and just chat. And you'll even think he's even more if you see that office.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, lots of boxing and MMA memorabilia.
Yeah.
So
he's been around a minute. He's an OG for sure.
yeah. All right. So let me ask you something here. What do you think of 4 contracts per week versus, I guess, when this whole thing started, and we kind of were under the impression that it might be 1, maybe 2 if someone shined. Are you warming up to it? I think I am a little, but because I kind of liked a little bit of the whole only 1 or 2 got it, 2 max, but I was kind of digging that 4 years ago.
Yeah, it's definitely a different, you're right. It's a different, I don't know what to say, a different expectation, but it's certainly a different pace to how they're giving these contracts out. And I guess I like it less from the anticipation side of things, because back in the day we're like, oh, who's going to be the 1, maybe 2 person who get this, but it's just a different day and age, and I think they're making really smart business decisions, to be honest with you, because they're basically creating a proving ground where they know what product they're buying. They know that they're getting their product at a pretty reasonable price, and some of those people are going to turn into legit superstars, and some of them may not, and that's okay. They've still had, a chance to have their moment in the UFC and fulfill that part of their dream. So honestly, I think it's a win-win. I thought the guys that got contracts last night were deserving. I almost thought that they were going to give a contract to Silva. That was one time I wasn't sold on it, but I would not have, my jaw would not have hit the floor if Dana had said that they would give one to a loser for the first time, because that fight between Silva and Molina was just awesome. And they need flyweights, and he's clearly UFC caliber.
Yeah, we were with you on that one. And I want to pick your brain a little bit. You've seen a lot over these years in the Contender Series, but is there actually a strategy to getting a contract? Because you can go out there and you can annihilate your opponent, but the first thing people say is, well, maybe the opponent wasn't that well, or we didn't see enough of you. Or you can have some of these drag-out fights. It's so hard. At the end of the day, are you just a fighter and just concentrate on getting the win? Or is there somewhat of a strategy to maybe catching Dana's eye?
I think that there's a strategy, and I think it's largely psychological, and you can pick up on Dana's reactions a lot of times in the interview that I do with him, where he's talking about the fights. If you really clue into what sets him off negatively and what he glows about, that's all you need to look at. That's your roadmap right there. Now, obviously, Sean and Mick are a huge part of this. The division that you're in matters. Who else performed well on that night matters. Your opponent does matter a little bit, but I don't think your opponent matters a whole lot. They're going to look at your record in totality, and it's sort of an algorithm that, none of us are privy to. But Dana White loves guys who go out there and give it their all. So, perfect example of that is Mike Breeden, who lost. But I was talking to him on the phone last night, and Dana went to the back, after his fight, talked to him, told him what a badass fight that was, and had lots of glowing praise. Now, he didn't get a contract, but that's the type of fight that's going to stick with Dana and these matchmakers, and you're going to be on a short list to get a last minute call up. So Dana loves guys who go out there and fight every second of every fight. I mean, you saw last week when he kind of read the riot act to Orion Cosey for taking the last 3 seconds of round number 2 off. That's the type of stuff you can't do. You can't coast. You can't know that you're up 2 rounds and just kind of like play it safe and pitter patter. He wants to see effort. You know what I mean? He wants to see effort and passion. He loves, like when Cheyenne Bays last week went up to him and gave him a hard time about not answering her Twitter or her Instagram messages. He loves stuff like that, where people are brazenly so passionate about their dreams that they're willing to approach him and tell him, I want this. I'm here. You need me. I can make you money. I can be a star. Like he wants to see that fire. That's really the biggest thing. And obviously winning helps a lot. Winning impressively definitely helps a lot, but it's the passion, I think, that he really wants to see.
I agree. And I'm glad you said it. If you fight till the end and you show some effort and don't get a contract, with all these fights that sometimes fall off because of the pandemic, and even pre-pandemic, we have situations where fights fall off, they will call you. They will call you, and based off your effort, they will call you, and you can now be a part of the UFC without having won a contract. It's an audition either way, even if you lost.
Yes.
Because there are some fights where they're very competitive, the winner and the loser. And you're right, I'm waiting for that Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner moment when everyone gets a contract, or at least, from the one matchup. I'm waiting for that one moment. But yeah, that's the key. Fight till the last moment. Show some passion. Talk a little bit. So you want a little bit of swag and cockiness. Don't overdo it like Kevin Holland in year 1. But still, I think the recipe's out there, and people should start to really, really focus on the audition. 95%, of course, getting the job done, but there's still something that surrounds it, and that's your personality, your marketability for the UFC to feature you as well. That's what they want.
And I encourage people, a lot of times I'll reach out to fighters before the show, because obviously they're new to this. They've never met me. And so I'll like kind of introduce myself to them via social media or however I can kind of get a hold of them, and just be like, hey, I'm here to make your moment amplified. So like, don't feel like you can't say this or you can't say that. Like I kind of encourage them, like just be yourself and let loose. Like nothing you're going to say or do is going to offend me or bother me. So if you feel like doing X, Y, or Z, you do it, you go for it. Like I think sometimes they, it's maybe the first time they've been on ESPN Plus, and it's it's a big deal, and so they feel like they have to play by the rules. So I try to go out of my way to make sure that they're comfortable in feeling like they can just be the biggest version of themselves possible, because that really is that's what gets a lot of attention. And in these days, social media is so powerful. Like the UFC and ESPN clip the most interesting interviews from that night, and they often put them out the next day, right? So the UFC has I don't even remember, 40 million followers. Stuff like that matters. It's these little moments, and they get picked up and you get put out there. And so it more than ever, it does matter to have a personality. You want that to be your personality, but let it loose, let it shine. Everybody has a story to tell, and everybody has the type of personality that people can get behind. You just got to let it out there.
But I will say this, that year 1 and 2 at the old gym, all hot and sweaty, all of us kicking, the AC was not kicking in, or if it wasn't much of an effort. There was something golden about that. There was something golden about everyone walking around the Little League bleachers, you know what I mean?
Fight club.
It was like a fight club. It was pretty, and then you got the Fuku truck outside. We can go and grab some burgers. What I'm saying is, I remember in year 1, we'd all look at each other and say, okay, that guy in fight 1, that was strategic. He set the bar.
Yeah.
Let's see what fight 2 looks like. I felt like the pressure was mounting, and that's why it was a little bit of a fingernail bite at the end, because we thought 1, maybe 2 if he's in a good mood. That was a little raw and organic for me. But like I say, now we're in the plush apex. It's cool. Times are changing. We need bodies. I get it. So I'm not hating on it, but every once in a while, I'd like to see Dana. Sucks that I'm saying this at the cost of a future week, but I'd like to see him set everyone straight too and say, "Sorry, one contract this week," and then maybe he can invite those 4 winners future episodes. Shake it up a little.
Yeah. I'm with you. I kind of like it when he slow plays the yes as well. He's done that in weeks past where he'll say a bunch of not necessarily positive things about the fight, and then he'll say, "But," you know. I like it when he does that with the announcements. I definitely I don't miss 100 degrees for 6 hours straight. That was not fun, but I do miss, like, you're right. It was much more, it was raw, and it was a little bit more nail bitey. And I miss, everybody gives me crap for it, but I miss standing next to the fighters and like being able to put my arm around them in those moments, because it's just, it is so emotional, and I don't like that I have to like be distance right now, but is what it is. We got to do what you got to do. So
are your nice outfits salvageable though after putting your arm around all these sweaty monsters? 5 times, 10 times per night or whatever. Do you just get rid of the outfit? Have you landed some sort of a Ralph Lauren, or I don't know what some designer that hooks you up every Tuesday?
Well, I actually do rent a lot of my outfits. There's a company, and I'm not sponsored by them, so I'm not getting paid for this. I wish I was. I'd save a lot of money. There's a company called Rent the Runway that I get a lot of my stuff from, so it's kind of like a revolving door of clothes. But yeah, I got a good dry cleaner. It's all good. I hugged Jeff last night after his fight, and when I was done, like I had, because you can't really see the blood because it mixes with sweat on them, and he's got kind of darker skin. When I was done hugging him, I saved my dress, but my arms were just covered in blood.
Oh. I noticed you're showing off the guns. Are we supposed to roll up too? Or?
No, it's hot in my room. I'm right in front of the air conditioner. That's where the light is in my room. And it's really hot in here because I have the AC off. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear me.
Well, I don't really have guns anyway, so you saved me. You're rocking Def Leppard, I see, huh?
Oh, hell yes. Hell yes.
Good. Yeah, that's an awesome band, man. I love those guys.
Absolutely.
I was just about to say, didn't they lose their drummer? But that was Quiet Riot, right? Like about a week ago. Did you hear that?
Yeah, somebody else.
Remember that? Come on, yeah, those 80 bands were the best, man.
Hey, Laura, I feel like every interview, when you either leave our studio at Mandalay Bay or hang up the phone, you probably have a moment where you go, "You believe these guys?" This is going to be that one.
Okay.
With as successful as Dana White Contender Series is, okay, and as much as we love it, we're the obnoxious guys that feel like we have an idea to make it even better. So we're going to pitch you, because I know he has one and I have one. We'll pitch you 2 ideas. And you tell us if you're feeling us, okay?
All right. I'm ready.
Idea number 1. What if Dana White's Contender Series every week, instead of spreading the weight classes, let's just say week 1 is all flyweights. However, here's what's going to happen. The main event is actually 2 guys that are on contract. Except maybe they have a little bit of a losing skid or something, but essentially they're fighting for that contract, whoever loses that main event. So it kind of gives incentive to the 2 guys in the main event, because they're like, I don't want to lose my contract to these guys, and these guys are fighting for that up there. And you go week by week, different weight classes, but it's always the same weight class for the whole week, and those guys are actually fighting for that. And then whoever wins that week fights the winner of that main event at a next event or something. Not next week, but a future event. Something like that. That's Goes' idea. Here's Jordan's idea.
Yeah, man, because that's rough, Goes, what you said.
It is pretty rough.
You're sending like a veteran room, man. I mean, like, pack your suitcase, get out of here.
But it's better than...
That's some Hunger Games stuff right there. That's some legit, like...
Okay, so here's my idea. I was saying I love Dana White Contender Series so much, 10 weeks doesn't satisfy. So one way to stretch it is, and I picked this matchup, I'm going to stick with it. I pitched it on our Junkie Radio podcast. I think I pitched it here earlier. You know that recent fight we had with Jim Miller and Vince Pichel? 2 veterans of the game, right? Have them headline a Dana White Contender Series. We have 4 fights, 4 regular Dana White Contender Series fights, and then a main event that features someone from the UFC roster. Loser doesn't have to go home, like Go said. Just, it's the main event. It might bring a few more eyeballs, because not everyone's palette is the regional scene or the up-and-coming scene. And it gives those guys some shine, a little extra media that they may not have gotten because they're tucked under, a pay-per-view or something like that. And what it does is, some quick math here. 10 weeks, 5 fights, that's 50 fights.
Yep.
So, this way you're doing 4 fights, right?
40.
Over the 10 weeks, that would be 40. That leaves us 10 fights. We can fill in almost 3 more weeks. So now we stretch it to 13 weeks instead of 10. Now, granted, we could maybe even go further than that and just do 3 in a main event or whatever, but I don't want to hijack and do the whole thing. I just think this is a way to get us 3 more extra weeks. Some shine on those guys that, like I said, are buried on a pay-per-view or whatever. And, that Apex Center is beautiful. They paid $100 million for it. Yep. Let's use this bad boy. Let's continue Dana White Contender Series so we don't have to wait a whole year before we get, our next fill. This is an Ozark. I don't want to wait that long. I want this to last. Like Dana says, I could do this 52 weeks a year. Well, so could I. I realize that's why Maynard and Shelby don't like that, but I still think there's something to at least finding ways to stretch it out.
Listen, I like both of the ideas a lot. Goes, I think that is that's some ruthless stuff right there. That's some ruthless stuff.
I hear you.
Not only are we fulfilling dreams, but we are simultaneously just crushing them into the ground. I don't hate it. It definitely makes for some good TV. But I think George's solution is maybe a little bit more viable. I like that idea because you're right. Everyone's like, oh, it's a great show. Let's do more. But you hit the nail on the head. Sean and Mick are there's a math problem, right? There's only so many weeks a year. So therefore, there's only so many fight nights a year. And everyone that they have on the roster has to be offered 3 fights a year, or they have to pay them for not fighting. So you can't create an imbalance where you're over rostered, because then it's just going to be way, way, way too expensive. So Sean and Mick are already like, oh my God, I love Contender Series, but really, Dana, I think less so now, given the circumstances, because they need guys, and these are the guys that are like, pick me last minute, I'll step in, day's notice, whatever. And they've already passed medicals and all that good stuff. So I like that idea a lot. Whether I think they'll do it, I don't know, but it would be super fun. And I think it'd be neat to kind of meld a little bit of the two between UFC and Dana White's Contender Series. But I will say internally, I don't see it happening because they're for whatever reason, they're very like, this is separate. Yes, it's obviously related to the UFC, obviously. But like, I get paid from a separate entity for Dana White's Contender Series. They're very intentional about keeping it, church and state. So if they were to mix them, it would be kind of a big leap in their part in terms of what their original vision was for the show. But I like the idea. I like it a lot. I'm sure I'm not breaking any news here, but I think the consensus is that, we're probably headed back to Fight Island at some point. And I was wondering because Dana can't be 2 places at the same time, and the show doesn't work if he's not there. I was wondering if they were going to move Contender Series to Fight Island. I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't think it's financially viable to do it that way. And there's so many moving parts with people testing or people near them testing and fights falling through and injuries that it's really hard logistically to get last minute replacements in Abu Dhabi. But I was thinking too that if they did Contender Series in Abu Dhabi, you kind of have like at least a few built-in backups for the actual UFC fights that are taking place in Abu Dhabi. But all I can say is, especially in these days, doing what we do is a logistical nightmare. It's an absolute logistical nightmare. And the fact that somehow week after week they manage to pull it out, make it work, make it happen is truly like, I wish one day that that some of us could publish the chronicles of stuff that people didn't know happened that we just can't say, because it's been crazy.
I have a solution for one of the logistical nightmares.
Okay.
And it's one that I probably pitch you every year. Move to Vegas already. You have forums out here too. You're here all the time. There's great streaming. We see you at Extreme Couture. Just move out here.
I'm starting to feel like Vegas is my second home. If anything, I just need to get an apartment out here so I'm not in the Fairfield Inn, but I have to be here anyway. Even the people who live in Vegas have to quarantine in this hotel, so I'd be here anyway. But yeah, moving forward, the only problem is you're forgetting I own a farm. I own a ranch, so it's not like I have the most mobile life. I think a better solution is that the UFC just, get me a private plane. No big deal.
Good call.
All right, I think I've asked you this before, but I want to ask it again. Because you have so many roles and you do them great, and it's really cool because we've been in there when you're doing it, seeing you hustle around.
It's
especially those stairs. We watch you walk those stairs.
It's gonna happen.
Huh? I know you've said that before, but you got a good handle on them. Which one's tougher, by the way? I think going down is tougher than going up, right?
Yeah, going down is definitely tougher than going up, for sure.
They're pretty steep. I've seen the guy that opens the cage. He's bitten it a couple times. But he's in jeans, and I think he's even wearing knee pads, so it's not as big of a deal. But here's what I want to ask you: what if they said we want a third person in the booth? Those duties will go to somebody else. Would you be willing to give those up, or do you feel like you have your fingerprint on so much of it that you would even have to maybe pass, even though it would be, that would be pretty epic to have a female commentator.
I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat because that, kind of like I said earlier, that really is that's my dream. I mean, if I'm being honest, and that's my goal, and it's a tough case to make because I don't have the resume that the UFC fighters do, and that's who they really like to use in those roles. But there's not, hundreds of women that have fought and who are also, this is the thing, like a lot of people, I see these arguments online, oh, it should be this person, it should be this person. And I'll flat out say X, Y, or Z woman has more fights than I do. She's really fun and interesting and I'm a huge fan, but talking on television and doing live analysis during fights is a different animal. And it's not even can you articulate the moves. It's a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes in terms of the prep work and doing things appropriately. There's just so much more that goes into the job that I do feel like I'm capable of doing. It's just, can I get past the hump of not really, here's the thing, I don't really fit any mold, right? But they've never, my point is always, but they've never had a reporter in the past with fight experience, and who I think over the years I've been able to build, at least probably among the diehards, some amount of reputation for knowing what I'm talking about. So, but the problem is, and I get this still sometimes, like when I do a big ESPN broadcast, I'll still get tons of random people like, who's this chick? She has no idea what she's talking about. And that's just me doing interviews, which always cracks me up because I don't know if it's ego or just like, it frustrates me, but I'll reach out to those people individually a lot and be like, hey, I'm not mad about you not liking me. You don't have to like me. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but like, I would love to know what I said that made you say I'm some stupid B word that has no idea what I'm talking about. And I'm telling you, 99 times out of 100, they're like, oh, well, I just had never seen you before, but you're right. I just went and Googled you and, oh, I had no idea like you fought. And yeah, you're right. You do know what you're talking about. So I think there's a concern that if you were to throw me into a role where you have to have a reputation and the accolades to kind of back up what you're saying, that I would get eaten alive by the fans. But I think the Contender Series is a perfect place to do that. Reps on there and have some moments doing commentary on there that might be a springboard to start doing some of the really small, obscure fight nights. I'm not saying I'm ready to do pay-per-view anytime soon, but yeah, that would be amazing.
That'd be cool.
Have you seen Doris Burke do color commentating on NBA games? She's really talented and does a great job.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. And there's another woman named Sarah Kustok, who's I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. I'm a huge fan of hers. I found her because she used to work, or maybe still works at Fox Sports back when I was at Fox Sports, and this has always been my goal. Like, I just want to be in a place where I can offer I can insert a little bit of my knowledge, my opinion, my understanding of the fight game, and not just ask, was that your game plan going in? How do you feel? You know, and those are questions that have to be asked. And I do love my current job. But there's I feel like I have more to give, I guess. So I reached out to Sarah because very similar thing. She played college basketball, but never played in the WNBA. And then she was a sideline reporter in the NBA, and then eventually moved up to be a desk analyst, and then eventually moved up to do full-on commentary for the Nets, is who she works with. So that's kind of it's a very similar thing. You know, I never played in the NBA, but I did play college ball, and I know what I'm talking about. So the path she
I think she got a phone call.
Okay. All right. Well, if she comes back, we'll bid our dues. But man, that was great talking to Laura Sanko. Is she there? I think I hear her.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think so.
Am I back? Oh, I'm very dark.
Yeah, you're very dark. Laura, you kind of answered the question, and I guess we've already taken up a lot of your time, so we'll end it here. We at least get a chance to say bye, and thank you for your time today. And we'd love to do this again soon. And sorry it took so long to connect with you because you're really one of our favorite guests.
No, absolutely. I'd love to do it again anytime, guys, and hopefully I can find a place with a better signal next time. But I appreciate the time, and I miss talking to you guys. I miss being in the studio, but this is always fun too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.